Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. We're starting like a day early because some things I have to do in my personal life on this Wednesday. But I'm glad to be here on Tuesday morning in your living rooms, in your kitchens, as we talk about the 2023 NFL Draft prospect this morning, Malik Cunningham, quarterback out of the University of Louisville. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Before I bring him up, before I even get on the air this morning, people have been railing me about my Dallas Cowboys. Even my producer, Logan Landers, who we call Babyface Nelson, threw a shot in there. So to the Cowboys Nation, it's going to be all right. You got Jimmy Garoppolo out there. You got Cam Newton out there. But please, before we get into Malik Cunningham, don't go into the game on Sunday against Cincinnati with Cooper Rush. But let's get to this great player, Malik Cunningham, quarterback out of the University of Louisville. Joining me as always, I consider him the most talented guy covering all these great players in and into the draft this year. The young man's the hardest worker. He's coming from the vacation spot down there in Key West, Florida. He's having fun. Look at him. Very handsome. Out of the state of Minnesota, Minneapolis, Prince, baby. The number one scout. Mr. Daniel Kelly joined us this morning. How you doing, DK, from Key West, Florida?
Hey, I'm doing really well, thank you. Coming at you live from the 305.
Let's move on, my man. Let's talk about this great young man, Malik Cunningham, quarterback
Absolutely.
out of University of Louisville. What you love about him?
There is a lot to love about Malik Cunningham, and there is a lot to unpack today. Starting with his size, you see him there on your screen, number 3. He is 6'1", 190 pounds. Last year, he was 209 out of 337 for 62% completion percentage, 2,941 yards. 8.7 yard average, 19 touchdowns versus the 6 interceptions. Of course, when I talk about these players, I'm not like a lot of these draft analysts out there that get along, that go along and go along, to get along and sing with the choir. And there's never any game film accountability with these. There's all these opinions, but no game film references. Listen, I looked at Malik Cunningham in 2021 against Syracuse, FSU, and Ole Miss. And of all the things I start looking at him, he's played a couple seasons here. He's not like one of these one-hit wonders before they come into the NFL. And if his last name to our viewers that have a few years like myself and you, Vince, if the last name looks familiar, it's because it is. This is Randall Cunningham's son. Malik Cunningham, of course, Randall Cunningham, the great quarterback, the legendary quarterback, who was known for 3 things. He had 3 trademarks in the NFL when Malik's dad played. He was a playmaker. He had the prettiest long ball I've ever seen in my life. And of course, he could run, and he was extremely athletic. And all 3 of those traits, interestingly enough, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. They show up in Malik Cunningham, because Malik is something that he's a dangerous runner. He's got that long ball. And yes, folks, he's got the dynamic playmaking ability. Cowboys Nation, if you're looking for a quarterback, start looking at Malik Cunningham. There's so much to like about Malik Cunningham, and so much so that he has earned the nickname Cunningham 2, right? After, of course, the affectionately named Robert Griffin III, nicknamed RG3. So Cunningham 2 is his nickname. And I don't know, folks, and about 30 years ago, I started evaluating when I was, just a teenager. I don't know if I've ever vacillated more on a player when I've been watching him in game film. I mean, this is a guy, Malik Cunningham, there on your screen, that I've gone anywhere from a first round to a 5th round grade in my mind watching him play. No question he has dynamic first round ability, okay? But he's a 4th to 5th rounder at times when it comes to his passing game. He looks too raw at times when it comes to his passing game. And when I look at the franchise guys and the first round grades, these are the guys that are ready to step in and light it up, okay? It's hard enough to make the transition from college to the NFL as it is. But the franchise guys are ready to step right in. When I look at the second and third round guys, I'm looking at developmental guys. Okay, I'm looking at ideal number twos, backups who can step into that role and play if they have to play. With that said, let's unpack Malik Cunningham, aka Cunningham 2. On the plus side, okay, he brings, as I said, a very dynamic look and feel and swag to an offense, and there's a real premium for that in the National Football League. This is the way I'd be talking if I was sitting in an NFL war room. We're going through these guys, okay? My mentor taught me in the NFL, man with 4 rings, okay, taught me to stick with the dynamic ones. And with that said, Cunningham is dynamic, and he's an option type of quarterback with excellent ball handling skills, okay? He's got excellent play action fake. He can evade the rush. He can slide around. He can move around. He can roll out, in different directions, okay? This is a guy that's got wheels, and he's got some of that RG3 to him pre-injury, of course, before the knee, but he's got some of that RG3 in a way that he can move around and he can dictate the defenses, and he can make defenses adjust to him, which of course increases his throwing leverage and his throwing windows because defenses are more reactionary to him when he's on the move. Okay, I like that about him. He does a really nice job avoiding sacks, throwing the ball away a lot of the times. He brings that running ability, as I talked about, okay? A dangerous, elite, legit running ability to the game. He shows initial get up and go and burst. He shows, and he looks like how his dad ran the ball running around. He can make a defender miss. He is a graceful and a nimble runner, a legit runner, like I said, just like his dad was when he played in the NFL. His skill set shines most when the plays break down and things get unscripted, and he has to make something happen. Listen, folks, Malik Cunningham is a type of quarterback that can make something out of nothing. Okay, he's best in a short and the deep route levels, okay? He's fairly consistent with that deep ball, and not a lot of these college quarterbacks are. This is a premium if you're an NFL offense that likes to play the deep game. He can actually hit receivers deep in stride. That's a premium, okay? He's got his best routes are a short to intermediate slant when a guy is cut right into the inside. It's like throwing darts. He can hit those. He likes working up the seams, and he loves this shallow crossing route coming out underneath, right across his face underneath on the field. Another big thing, okay, let's turn up the volume and let's highlight this, okay, because this is very important. This is something that Belichick preached when I sat in his defensive meetings, okay? It's ball protection. Okay, when you're looking at a possible number 2 to bring in and develop, okay, you want to bring a guy in who can protect the football and not take a lot of stupid and risky chances with the football. What do I mean by that? Throwing it a double coverage, triple coverage, throwing ill-advised passes, taking chances, trying to do too much. Malik Cunningham doesn't do any of those things. He only threw 2 really ill-advised, what I would call ill-advised passes in the 3 games that I looked at him at, and the game film does not lie. Does a nice job. Kudos to Malik Cunningham for protecting the football, okay? So now we looked at the positives. Let's look at the negatives. Okay, unfortunately, there's 2 sides to every coin. Tony Rosano, the guy who wrote the book Secrets NFL Scout, the old scouting director with the 49ers, the book I grew up learning how to scout on, said there are no 10s, and Malik Cunningham is no exception to this rule. Okay, let's look at the negatives. There are 3 cardinal sins, okay, and a quarterback cannot make, and Malik Cunningham has all 3 of those cardinal sins. What do I mean? Number 1, he tends to hold the ball too long in the pocket. Either he holds it too long or he gets too impatient and he takes off too early. Either way, it's a bad combination. He's got to drill down on working and doing better and developing better skills throwing timing routes for the next level, because the NFL is all about timing routes, okay? Number 2, he has a tendency to lock in with his receivers. That's no. You can't do that in the National Football League and make a living. Otherwise, you end up in Sports Center for the wrong reasons, because if you telegraph and you lock in with the receivers, it could be a pick six on ESPN on the Sunday night show, okay? So he has a tendency to lock in with the receivers. And number three, he was just too darn inconsistent with his ball placement at all three route levels, okay? Especially short to intermediate. It was overthrown. It was too high. It was too low. It was all over the road. Ball placement, I'm learning, folks, is one of the most important things about the quarterback position. I am not talking about completion percentage. I'm talking about the ability for the quarterback to put the ball right in the hands where it needs to be, so receivers like Mac Jones of Alabama, if you remember, so receivers can run right through the ball and just keep on running. His ball placement's all over the place, not giving his receivers the ultimate chance for yakety-yak yards after the catch. That's something he's going to have to improve on. Malik Cunningham just really looked raw in the finer points of quarterback play. Like I said, he could be too impatient, bail out too early, not going through his progressions. And I was concerned how overwhelmed he looked in the Ole Miss game. Okay, that was a concern to me. But listen, even though I grew up a Washington Redskins fan, you touched the Dallas Cowboys, so I'm going to bring up the Redskins in this one, Vince. Even though I grew up as a huge Redskins fan in Minnesota, a fanatical Redskins fan, I loved his dad, Randall. Okay, Randall was a guy who was dynamic, and he was, again, I've never seen a prettier long ball in my life. I mean, Randall, his dad, Malik Stack, could just flick the wrist and he could go, and the ball it would be a thing of beauty, just how effortless it was for him to sling that thing deep. Okay, and yeah, I mean, the proverbial apple does not fall far from the tree. But here's what concerns me most as an aspiring general manager myself, okay? Can I win with him in the National Football League? We talk about all this scouting jargon, all this terminology. My NFL mentor, again, a man with 4 rings, taught me it all comes down to one thing. Can we win with this guy at quarterback? The answer right now, I would say, is no, because of how raw he is. But maybe if he shows improvement, and that's just, again, pure speculation. But I'm excited to see how he looks this year playing there at Louisville. I need to see if he improves in the 3 areas of not holding the ball too long, getting away from locking in, having better placement. I need to see better and more progress as a passer. Athletically, he's got what it takes. But again, he looks too raw as a passer, and he can't be a first-round talent because of that. And he's not a 5th or 7th round guy either. Right now, I'd probably put him in the 4th round categories where I put him on my website, firstroundmock.com. I mean, like I said, I loved his dad, and I see the dynamic ability. You got to stick with the dynamic ones. I'm sure this guy's going to grow on me like Malik Willis did last year when Malik Willis started out with a 3rd-round grade, but he was a 2nd overall pick in my last mock I released for SI Jets prior to the draft. This guy, I love him. There's a connection between me and Malik, okay? And this guy's going to work up my boards more than likely unless he goes in the tank on the game film. But that's what I'm seeing with him. He might be an interesting guy to bring up if you play a 2-quarterback system, like a Taysom Hill down in New Orleans. That could be interesting as well. But this is the ultimate boomer bust player. Let's put it that way, Mr. Turner, as you take it away and talk about Malik Cunningham, quarterback, Louisville.
You think about Mr. Cunningham. And all the points you brought up are very well spoken. But when you think about Malik Cunningham, he's playing at a school, Louisville. They don't really have a lot of football history. When you think about the Louisville Cardinals, you think basketball, especially me being 62 years old. You think about Darrell Griffin, Wesley Cox, Tony Branch, Ricky Gallen, Allen Junior Bridgman, Allen Murphy, the McCray brothers. But when you look over at their football history, they got some good football players that came through there. The great Johnny Unitas. I think we heard of him. Bruce Armstrong. Lord have mercy. Doug Buffoon. One of the best corners in the game, Frank Minifield. A great coach, Harold Schellenberger. So Louisville, and then I want to throw in there Tom Jackson, from the ESPN linebacker for the Denver Broncos. But when you look at Louisville, over the years, them being a basketball school, they produced some really good football players that's done it at a high level in the NFL. See, Malik Cunningham reminds me right now that young man that's playing with the Baltimore Ravens, who turned down, 133 guaranteed, over 250. Remember what they said about him when he won the Heisman. We think Lamar Jackson really can't throw the football that well. But he gets into the league with the Ravens, last pick in the first round, ends up coming the MVP in the National Football League 2019. Then think about this. What I like about Malik Cunningham, even though he might have some flaws, I like the production. I like the experience. He's a fifth-year player. Last year, 2,900 yards, 19 touchdowns, 6 INTs. But he also had 1,000 yards on the ground. I believe he had 20 touchdowns. And when you look at the NFL right now, it's going to a game that's dual threat. You got to be able to throw the ball and be dangerous in the pocket. Pull it down when you don't see nothing. And then when you look at his skill set, just like Lamar Jackson, a lot of people is talking about Lamar. I think right now Lamar is one of the top three quarterbacks in the game. And then think about Malik Cunningham. When I watch him last Friday night on ESPN against Central Florida, there was no question about it. He was the best player on the field. 195 yards passing and 121 running. Louisville won that football game. Now people start to look at him a little closer with that camera. And then when you look overall his skill set, now I'm going to take you back. I'm 62. I see a young Conrich Holloway that played at Tennessee when I was 13. I see from a passing ability, because a young man can make all the throws when he's able to set his feet. I see a Tony Robinson at Tennessee. Then I'm going to go down the road here. I see a little bit of Joe Hamilton at Georgia Tech. I see a little bit as far as running ability. I see a little bit of other young man out of Houston, Texas, Stratford High School. They won the national championship with Texas, Vince Young. Then I see a Reggie Collier out of Southern Mississippi when I was in Arkansas in the 80s. Then I'm not saying he got a little bit of Michael Vick. Then
Absolutely.
Lamar Jackson, Malik Willis. I think it's when it's all said and done at the end of the year, when we go into testing him, he's going to probably put up good numbers, and he's probably going to end up as, to me personally, a second or third round player. But I like him, excuse me, because he's played a lot of football. He's got a lot of room to grow. If he goes to the right team, like Lamar Jackson went to the Ravens, and somebody takes really good care of him and develop him, I see him being a real good player at the next level. And I see him being an explosive player. And the one thing I always said, we've talked about this before, we came on the air today. Me, Daniel Kelly, and our producer Logan Landers, what was the gist of the conversation? Big time players play well when the lights on. Malik Cunningham, to me, Friday night, his team down on Friday Night Football against Central Florida. Really hadn't did nothing in the first half. He comes out and plays at another level. One more time, 195 yards passing, 121 running. You're talking about explosiveness. Like I said, all this gentleman I just named, let me throw Rodney Peete in there from USC. This guy, to me, when it's all said and done, he's going to be one of the most underrated prospects to go into the 2023 NFL draft at the quarterback position. Final words about the young man, Mr. Malik Cunningham, quarterback out of Louisville, Bobby Petrino.
Absolutely, Mr. Turner. You know, you give us a lot of good food for thought. You get my wheels spinning a lot when you talk like that. Because the only reason as an evaluator I put a 4th round grade on him right now for my website, firstroundmock.com, is because I've allowed the opportunity for him to show me what he can do in his senior season, okay? It is distinctly possible that he is going to end up on my big board as a first rounder, as a dynamic, elite type of quarterback prospect by the time everything is said and done heading into the 2023 NFL draft. Because you bring up a very interesting point. Okay, this guy really resonates with me. And as my NFL mentor taught me, okay, there's very few playmakers in the National Football League. There's a lot of guys who play a role, but there's very few type of Michael Jordan, the Lamar Jacksons, these different type of guys that you've mentioned that can make, they can make these type of plays and do these kinds of things and take over a game. Okay. Malik Cunningham has that dynamic, elite playmaking skill set with his legs. And we sit there and we say to ourselves, okay, yeah, he's got the 3 cardinal sins. He holds the ball too long. He tends to lock in. His ball placement's over the road. But you bring up an interesting point about Lamar Jackson as maybe a top 2 or 3 quarterback in this league right now. Okay. Lamar Jackson's showing that this can work in the NFL. And ironically, they're from the same school. Okay. And it's interesting because let's say, for example, I would love to see Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator of the Ravens, go and get a head coaching job next year and all of a sudden draft Malik Cunningham and do it all over again, okay? Because they've shown now Lamar Jackson is not a world beater as a passer, okay? He's ready to break the bank. He's ready to be one of the top paid quarterbacks in the NFL. But if you go back and look at ESPN.com, you'll see that Lamar Jackson is number 25 overall last year as a passer in the league, number 22 in 2020 and 19, okay? Lamar Jackson's not ripping it up through the air. Now carefully listen to this, okay? Now, Lamar Jackson does have a better ability to throw timing routes, and he has a little bit better ball placement than Malik has right now. So I'm not saying they're the same player, but if Malik shows a little bit improvement in those areas, Lamar has kind of paved the way to show that style of play, running around, making defenses adjust to you, everything breaks down, gets chaotic. He makes plays. He runs around, a lot of short passes, a lot of passes, pass routes at the intermediate level. They have breaking points to the outside or slants to the inside or comeback routes, and he can create bigger throwing windows. It can work, okay? And again, there's so few of these guys that can throw good deep balls in college, okay? Malik Cunningham looks like a superstar throwing the ball deep. Big playability, that's what you need in a quarterback. You don't need game managers. You need guys that can win the game from the position of quarterback. And Malik Cunningham has that skill set. He'll need a good quarterbacks coach, but it's distinctly possible. Hey, listen, I don't know how else to say it except for I love the guy.
My final words about Malik Cunningham. Now, getting back to Lamar Jackson, you brought up good points, but I look at it like this. Like it was told to me last night by a special individual. He said, hey, Lamar Jackson wouldn't be playing on this level if he couldn't throw the football. Then I thought about that and I said, you know what? I'll go back to last Sunday when Baltimore won their first game in a year and they beat the New York Jets, and I saw Lamar Jackson throw that dime to Rashid Batman for a touchdown. Now I'm going to get to my point. Malik Cunningham is just like Lamar Jackson in this terms. When Lamar Jackson came out, there was a lot of question marks about his ability. But you being a GM, and it don't take a rocket scientist or a blind man to realize this. To become the most MVP in the National Football League, that's far and none. That's what you call greatness. That's what you call special. That's what you call respect. That's what you call being a player. Lamar Jackson and Malik Cunningham are almost a spinning image. And think about this. They played at Louisville. Louisville, man, as I just brought up, they're known for basketball. Denny Crum, Rick Pitino. But when you look at the players that they produced, the players who played at a high level. Tom Jackson, one more time. You should know him. Joe Jacoby, Johnny Unitas, Doug Buffoon, Bruce Armstrong, Ray Buchanan. I see this in Malik Cunningham. I think it's going to be no problem when you get to the next level, baby. I think it's going to be one of the most underrated prospects at the quarterback position. And I love him. I love him because he's on the team. Louisville is not going to be a Power 5 team or a college playoff team this year. Let's face reality. But the one thing that I read about Malik Cunningham, intangibles, confident. Every teammate loves him. Loves him. Don't do a lot of talking. Producers on the field. Rewind Friday night against Central Florida. He willed that Louisville team to a win. So when I look at Malik Cunningham, I look at him fly, fly, fly. That Cardinal out of Louisville, Freedom Hall, Denny Crum. Tom Jackson, Joe Jacoby, Johnny Unitas, Malik Cunningham, University of Louisville. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Joining me as always, the talented, the controversial, the guy that tell it like it is. My number one scout, covering all these great players for the 2023 NFL Draft. Remember his name, Mr. Daniel Kelly. One more time before we cut off, Mr. DK. Give the gentlemen and the people, the females and the ladies all across the world your information with your new website.
Absolutely. It's called firstroundmock.com. It's going to become the number one draft voice in America. It's bringing you the top 32. We're looking at the most dynamic players, firstroundmock.com.
And to the producer, he got a little spanking in him this morning, coming throwing shots at me. We call him Babyface. We in our pre-show meeting, and out of the blue, he gonna throw up, the Cowboys need a quarterback, man. I love him. He's got my juices flowing. He's very talented. Remember his name. We call him LL, Mr. Logan Landers. Y'all be blessed. It's football season, baby. It's a high level. We're coming. Warriors come out to play.
Malik will fly like an eagle.